What's up guys, Manime here, and today I am joined with...
Hello, it's Duo here, and I come from Duo Review, a channel that makes theories, and I'm excited to be doing this with you, Manime. Today we'll be going through the top 10 reasons as to why you should watch My Hero Academia. And before you get annoyed, we understand that there are a ton of videos on My Hero Academia. So today, we'll be talking about the topics that most videos haven't covered. So basically, no talking about the fight scenes in depth. Also, these are not in any specific order, so let's just begin.
Number 1. The pacing. The shonen genre is debatably the most popular subgenre in anime. Nevertheless, one of the most irritating things about this genre is usually the pacing. Most of these animes draw out fight scenes or add useless filler episodes, but My Hero Academia is a shonen anime that doesn't suffer from pacing issues. I know it sounds like a contradiction, but trust me, it's the truth. Most of the fight scenes aren't these drawn out messes, and some end in a matter of minutes. But don't get me wrong, My Hero Academia isn't particularly fast paced either. Honestly, it's just paced out correctly. The show isn't afraid of drawing out scenes that are emotional and need some extra time to develop. But it also has no problem speeding through some scenes that most shonens would take advantage of and draw out.
Number 2. The music. Now, let's be real here. The music is part of what makes this series. Regardless of which of the multitude of amazing scenes you choose, it's impossible to separate the epic moments from the music accompanying them. The tracks are some of the most enthralling and memorable tracks I've seen in any anime, and that's not even mentioning the absurdly catchy openings. Every aspect of the music is perfectly made to fit each scene. Imagine having the final fight with Nomu, but lacking the track You Say Run. Half of the impact would be lost without it. The soundtrack is beautiful, and it only gets better after watching the show.
Number 3. Side characters are actually relevant. A lot of shonens aren't afraid to introduce a ton of side characters, and My Hero Academia is no exception to this. As you can see, there are quite a few side characters in Hiraka. Nevertheless, the show doesn't just make them side characters for the sake of being side characters. Most of them actually get roles that further the plot or represent a foil to the characters. They are actually, well, relevant to the plot.
Number 4. Side characters actually develop. And continuing on with that, the characters actually develop. No, I'm not just talking about our main character Deku. I mean the entirety of the important side characters see some kind of development throughout the series. Whether it's Ochako or even Bakugo, who I assumed would be a generic rival character throughout, every single side character seems to go through some kind of change as the series continues. This makes the humdrum casts of unchanging characters for most shonen seem almost useless by comparison.
Number 5. A show worthy of its popularity. My Hero Academia is a show that is actually worthy of its popularity. Most seasons in anime, generally speaking, the most popular show isn't exactly the best show, and the best show is often far away from being the most popular show. Dare I mention Sword Art Online. But My Hero Academia is not only incredibly popular, but also incredibly good. Most anime critics agree that the show is great, and most of the people who have read the manga often say that the show only gets better. So it's actually deserving of its incredible popularity.
Number 6. Tension building is done well. If there's one thing My Hero Academia does consistently, besides pretty much everything on this list making this statement kind of pointless, it's tension building. Every single massive moment works because not only does the show understand build-up, but it knows how to keep tension high. That way, when everything finally explodes, the scenes have been so perfectly built up that you will remember everything. Think about how long it took to get to the final fight with Nomu, just waiting and waiting for All Might to show up. Just as everything gets to its worst point, the show uses some of its best scenes to make the build-up worth it. You may say that every show should have this aspect, and you're right. That's why it's sad that we need to praise it, because there are far too many shows that don't understand tension building at all.
Number 7. All episodes are strong. Generally, most anime have some sort of filler episode that isn't particularly relevant to the plot. Unfortunately, I'm here to tell you that My Hero Academia does in fact do this. But ironically enough, these episodes never really feel like filler. They often bring up a character's internal struggles, or make the episodes have some sort of weight to it. Actually, I'd go as far to say that every episode in My Hero Academia is strong. They all have some sort of weight or action to them. My favorite example of this being the cavalry battle. Something that would generally be a really boring filler episode turned into something that was incredibly fun.
Number 8. Consistent animation. When mentioning animation, everyone likes to mention how well animated the fight scenes are. And yes, those people are correct, but that's not the only thing great about this animation. What's impressive is that, whether it be an epic fight scene or just a gag-filled conversation, the animation has a quality to it most shows could never hope to attain. Nothing feels lazy, nothing feels like it was made to keep up with budget. Every shot is filled with so much detail and beauty that it's almost insane. Comparing it to some of the cheaply animated shonen of recent times, this show is a cut above the rest.
Number 9. Actions have consequences. This is my final pick on why you should watch My Hero Academia. I've noticed that throughout the anime, this has been a fairly common theme. Due to All Might's ambition, he consistently hurts himself, bringing himself to a point where he can only use his powers for a short period of time. The same goes for Midoriya. Thanks to him destroying his hands every time he fights, he's heavily scarred himself. There are a few other cases of this in the show, but those often lead into spoiler territory. But nevertheless, each decision does have some weight to it.
Number 10.
Now, you may have heard me make fun of several other shonen when comparing them to My Hero Academia. And while I love shows like Dragon Ball, the thing that sets this show above all the other shows like that is because, in essence, it breaks several of the quote-unquote limitations that most shonen have. It's not piled with filler episodes in an effort to pad the runtime and make cheap, easy money. It doesn't cheap out on the animation to save money. It doesn't rely on flat characters and sometimes even borderline worthless side characters to tell its simple narrative. Instead of using these limitations to save money, this show decides to have more effort and time put into it, and that's amazing. They could have been lazy, they could have been cheap, but instead they decided to make the show the best that they could. And that is the final reason as to why you should watch My Hero Academia. Because if there's any shonen that I could recommend, if there's any example of what shonen should be, it's this show.
These have been our 10 reasons for watching My Hero Academia. Also, I should mention that this video was edited by Duo.
And hey, you guys like theory videos? Well, come on over to my channel where both Manime and I go over a pretty dark theory involving My Hero Academia. It's an amazing video, and if you've ever wanted to see a darker take on this show, this is the best place to find it.
Make sure you guys share, like, comment, and subscribe. This is Manime Matt. Make sure you guys say, man, go watch that goddamn anime!